Okay, hello. Welcome to the newest tips for confident Norwegian. I hope that everything is fine on your end because I see that I have really slow signal in here, but hopefully it's okay. When you join, let me know. Okay, so let's try. Hopefully everything will work out in my favor here. And the first thing I want to tell you this time is that I have some news. I have a course opening after some time, and it's a new concept. So I'm really proud of that. I want to share that with you, and I want to encourage you to jump on if you see that it's for you, because I have very, very limited spots for the first cohort. And this new concept is a low-key course. That's why I'm talking about it today when I'm talking about the low-key way of learning Norwegian in general. So the course I'll be opening is called Skravleklubben. This is the international cohort. I've already opened a Czech and Slovak cohort with Czech support. So I've tested it a little bit and it's working really well. We're enjoying the time together on that course. So now on the 1st of April, the international cohort is finally opening, and this is really something to consider if your issues with Norwegian courses is the time. And maybe if you've been considering my courses and you decided not to because of the time. And also because of the budget, because this is a bit more budget-friendly option. I'll tell you more about it at the end. The main point now is that I have really, really limited spots for it. So be quick if you want to join. Okay, so that's the good news. And now the low-key method of learning Norwegian. There are, as I see it, as I talk to my students and to other people, there are two main issues with the Norwegian learning process. And these issues, I would sort them as number one, the time issue itself, that you do not have that much time to devote to studying Norwegian, and especially not the focus time, the quality time you would need. You don't have that time in the morning. You don't have that time that you're giving to your employer or to your business. You don't have that time that you're giving to your family, obviously, and you want to give your time to your family. But you know what I mean? At the time you can give to your Norwegian is very often the time in the evening, and that's a bit of a crisis, isn't it? That when you are able to study, you don't have the energy anymore. So even if you scrape some time to devote to that, and it's not the most quality time that you have, and that's a problem, obviously. So that's one thing, that you don't have enough of that time. That's one issue. And the other issue that I meet is that you have a lot of commitments. Norwegian isn't exactly top of mind for you, or it's not the top priority, and that's okay as well. Some people feel this as something that's bugging them a lot, that like I should be, and you shouldn't. If it's not your top priority, it just isn't. That's okay. But very often it isn't. You have other priorities like work or family or other things that you have to do first. And if your Norwegian is a commitment as well, which in a way it always is, but if you're focusing a lot on the results, as in like I have to reach this or that, nail this or that, you're very concrete and particular about your results, it's adding to the commitment overwhelm that you have in your life from before. So that's a problem as well. So the two main issues, the time itself, I don't have the time because my schedule is very tight. Problem number two, I have a commitment overwhelm. I have so many things on my plate that I have to fix and take care about. I have my work commitments, I have my deadlines, I have all these things that are happening at my kids' school, whatever. And if you add to it, like I have to do this or that and reach this or that result with the Norwegian studies, then you get even more overwhelmed and you are much less likely to actually stick with it because it might become too much. I meet this very often. So these two main issues are where the low-key kind of approach can help. And I can see that you're starting jumping in live. Can you let me know in the comments if you can hear me well? Because I see really bad signal here, or it looks slow. Let me know, please, in the comments if you have a nice picture or if you can hear me clearly. Yeah, let me know. Okay, and now the solutions to this. Why I am talking here about the low-key method of learning Norwegian. So I would say, first of all, you have to reduce the time that you are spending or that you want to be spending on the high focus Norwegian tasks. And what I mean by this is the parts of your Norwegian learning process that looks like university studies, essentially. And if you attend a lot of these courses, it really resembles university studies. Sometimes the course even is at a university, right? Sometimes that happens. So that's even more so that you would get like credits, you would have a lot of extra reading and whatnot. And this might be adding to the perception of the task as really huge, really difficult, and really result-oriented. And obviously, you want your results. You want your results. That's just true. But if you are over-focusing on them, and if every Norwegian study time that you are planning is high focus time, where you need to be understanding something really difficult, doing a lot of grammar that's complex, you're doing it in its complexity and all that, this is again going to prevent you from actually doing it. This is going to overwhelm you even more. And this might result in you not doing it, even if you had that time that you set aside. Yeah. And also, if the time you can set aside is in the evening, you're tired after the day, and all these things that we know from our lives, these high focus tasks are really difficult to do well because you do not have that focus, you do not have that capacity at that point during the day. And it ends up very commonly in frustration, in feelings of inadequacy. I can't do this, I'm so stupid, and so on. If you were doing the same thing at 9 a.m., you might have been nailing it much better. But since it's 9 p.m., after a whole day of work and other responsibilities, you just do not have that capacity. So that's what I mean. Yeah. So that's one very important thing, that you want to reduce the time you are spending in your planning and in reality, but especially in your planning, the time you're spending on these high focus tasks, like working on grammar or implementing some feedbacks that you received. Yeah. These tasks are in a way necessary, or the way I view language learning. Some teachers would tell you, don't do any grammar, just don't do that. I say do the grammar, do the strategic points, not like any random grammar, but do the strategic points. But you don't have to overdo it. It's not the bulk. And plan the bulk of your time spent studying to be devoted to lower focus tasks, like loads of TV watching, podcast listening when you are cleaning something at home. You don't have to be focusing hard. You can be drifting out and in. It's okay. And you will still get a lot under your belt. You can easily do an hour of Norwegian a day in that way, because it's not so hard, it's not so high focus, and you don't even notice that you're doing it. So that's very, very important. If it was your grammar studies, it would be almost impossible to do, and to do with a feeling of success as well, and that's very important. Yeah. You can also be just binging exercises, and for this it's very good to get access to an online platform. I give my students access to these platforms through various courses, also through Skravleklubben, as I'll tell you in just a minute when I'm talking about it, which is my low-key solution that I'm now opening. But I think this is very important, because if you have 20 minutes of time and you feel like you could be doing something a bit more focused than maybe listening to something, but you can't be doing the full grammar focus or anything like that, you can just go in and you can binge some exercises, and you can do some listening exercises, for example, because they play and you go along. You don't have to push yourself to doing it, because it's kind of happening, right? You just start it. Or you can be doing some vocabulary exercises, and You just do them because you want the added exposure and the focus, right? And it doesn't have to be that I have to nail this list. Yeah. So again, these are a bit kind of lower energy or lower focus tasks, and it's very good to be doing them most of the time, and just a little bit of those high focus tasks. Sometimes learning Norwegian looks like you're taking a master's degree, and that's my other kind of point when it comes to the explicit studying of maybe grammar or understanding difficult things and focusing hard and really being result oriented, as in this thing I have to nail and focus. Sometimes you have to be like that, but your Norwegian studies, that's not a master's degree, is it? It's not a PhD. And it's not like you have to be performing and achieving high all the time. That's not even possible for you because you're not a university student any longer, right? You have a life now with your career, with your family, with everything else. So you can't be sitting there and pretending this is your master's degree. But sometimes it looks like it's your master's degree. This is a part of your life now. So you have to make it sustainable. Yeah. So that's one thing. And I'll tell you what I do about this in Skravlaklubben in a minute. But I also want to say last week I was here talking about micro learning and micro focus in your learning. And when you are planning for these sessions of high concentration, I recommend doing it with this microfocus. And microfocus is something I use a lot as a concept in the sessions in Skravlaklubben. So I'll show you that later. Yeah, but it's very important when you have that half an hour and it's going to be focused studies. It's very, very important for you to be able to say, all right, I'll be doing this, but let me nail this bit a little bit, not like the whole of the grammar explanation. Let me nail this particular structure. I'm taking these 3 verbs. I'm doing it with are and gjør and spiser, let's say. I'm just making these up, but something high frequency, that's most relevant, yeah? Or the thing you got corrected on and you want to save it, something like that. It's very, very important that you don't focus too broad, because then again, you're back to your master's degree. And that's not what you're doing now. You might be doing a master's degree on the side, but that's a separate project. Your Norwegian studies, unless you're studying Norwegian like I did for a master's degree, which you probably aren't, right? You shouldn't be treating it like that. So think of it like this, yeah? And I'm encouraging you to rewatch or to catch up with last week's live stream about the micro learning sessions and about micro focus in your study sessions. Is very important because, again, if you want to do it more low key, more sustainably, more long term, you need to focus small. Yeah, that's very, very important. Okay, then another thing is number 2 that you can do to solve the issues of time and of commitment overwhelm is to take off the performance pressure. And I was talking about performance, yeah. And obviously we want the results. We are result oriented. We want to perform in terms of we want to speak well, we want to improve, we want to see the steady progression. But the problem is if we are kind of hanging ourselves onto the results, and if we don't get the results, then everything is wrong. We are bound to failure, because Norwegian is not our only project in our lives, is it? You have many projects, and like I was saying before, for very many people that I work with or that approach me for inquiring about lessons, inquiring about Norwegian, that comment on my posts and everything like that, people tell me from all over the place, Norwegian is not my top priority. And they almost whisper that, like, I am a good immigrant, but also Norwegian is not my priority. And I'm like, that's okay. That's okay. And if you have a high performance job, if you have a family, it's very likely that it's not going to be your top priority. You can still have a steady progression and you can feel good about your results, but you mustn't over-focus on the results. Rather than that, focus on the process over results. This is something that very many people recommend in very many areas. If you want to make a sustainable, steady progression, focus on the process over the results. And you will get more results in the long term than if you over focus on them. And this will generate a lot of feelings of failure and a lot of overwhelm on the way for you. And it will not be low-key at all in terms of your energy investment. Because if you're focusing on the process and you're like, all right, I'm doing 10 minutes of this and I'm doing 20 minutes of that, and I'm feeling better today, so that means I'm doing the exercises in my platform rather than my TV because I have that energy, then you're focusing on the process. And if the process is the right kind of process, which is something I help my students with, to be sure that the thing they're doing is actually the sensible thing to be doing, then you will know that you will get there. And it doesn't matter if you get there today or if you get there in a month's time or in several months' time, you know you're on the right path. And this takes off enormous pressure, and it kind of frees up your energy. Even if you're spending the same time studying Norwegian, you will reach better results in the long term because you're much less stressed. And you will hate the Norwegian studies much less as well. You might even start liking it, which is an advantage, obviously, because again, it's not generating that much stress and that much potential for failure, because you're focusing on the process and not being fixated on the results. Yeah, it's paradoxical. You often get more results by focusing on the process and not on the results themselves. Yeah. And I want to tell you a story, or like to refer to something a student of mine told me recently. I have this wonderful student, Emma, and she was doing the Norwegian, the norskprøve prep, the muntlig norskprøve prep program with me, and she passed the norskprøve even better than she was expecting, so we were celebrating. But the point being, I was doing an interview with Emma about her process and about the program and all that. I'm gonna share it with you pretty soon, I think, when it's all ready and prepared. And she was telling me, you know what, after some time of working with you and of working on my own and, you know, implementing my thing and just engaging with my process, and this was prepping for norskprøve, so even higher pressure than just generally learning. She said, I suddenly realized that I'm not stressed about the result anymore. I realized, or I kind of suddenly knew, that I was on the right trajectory. And it didn't matter, like I was saying, if it happens today, if it happens in 3 weeks' time. I know it's going to happen for me because I've already started to see the cumulative results, you know, the incremental results happening. And I know I'm on the right path. So it doesn't matter. Oh, of course it matters, but I know the results will show up if I continue doing the right thing. And she said this was such a relief for me. Like suddenly it was like, even for going there and sitting norskprøve, suddenly you don't have to worry that much. Like, what is the result gonna be? What does it say about me? You know what? It doesn't say anything about you, right? It just says something about your performance. And it's the same when you talk to your kids' teacher or to your boss in Norwegian. You make a mistake. So what? Doesn't say anything about you. You notice the mistake. You implement it in your process, you can get better next time. That's all it says here. And if you manage to get into this kind of mindset, you'll be able again to work in more low-key fashion and be happy with it, not be pushing for the results now. And this particular one, you know that you'll be getting better with time because this is cumulative. Yeah. Missy, Tamien is writing. Jeg elsker hårklippet ditt. Oh, tusen takk. Yes, it's the spring. I had too much hair. It wasn't good anymore. Thank you. Tusen takk. And Tammy, you can let me know if the video is all right on the other end or if it's scattery, because on my end it doesn't look that perfect today. So let me know if you can understand me well. All right. So now let me show you Skravleklubben. That's what I promised. And please let me know, those who are watching live, let me know if you can see it now, because 2 weeks ago, StreamYard was giving me trouble with sharing. So let me know if you can see this, if you see just a black screen, or if you actually see the share screen. That would be lovely, so that I know it's working. All right, and Skravleklubben, what's that? Skravleklubben, as I was saying, is a new concept of mine. After quite some time of running the same course structures, I came up with this new one, and it was because I've seen a lot of need for it. People tell me, now I've done the intensive course and I need to sustain my knowledge. I need a container. I need somebody to push me. I need this motivation of the group. I want to be learning new stuff continuously, but not in the same pace as a regular course would be, because it's just too much. I can't sustain that pace all the time. And that's very true. That's also something I talk about quite often, that you have to plan for the baseline, which should be sustainable and much more low-key. And you can plan occasional kind of spurts or occasional challenges. You can say, okay, these 2 weeks, I'm gonna do 2 hours of TV every day. I'm gonna do a grammar bit and all the thing. But it's for 2 weeks. And that you will be getting back to your baseline, which could be just showing up for the TV every day for 15 minutes. And some days it will be more than that because you get caught up. That's perfect. Other days it will just be your baseline, and the baseline should be low-key and sustainable. Yeah. So that's why I came up with this, because people kept telling me, like, I want to join a course with you. I've been meaning to do that for a long time, but I never have that time allowance. I never have that energy level, or I don't have that budget even, because intensive courses are more pricey, obviously, than low-key solutions. So I was like, you know what, guys, I'm gonna make that course. And I've been running a Czech and Slovak cohort of this course for 2-3 weeks now. We've had 2 lessons that we have behind us, and it's working really well. I can tell you, it's fun, and people are like, whoa, I'm learning a lot here, even though I'm not afraid of showing up, that I'm unprepared or something like that, because the lessons are independent. You show up for the lesson and you harvest what's in there, and you'll be able to transfer that into your life, because we micro-focus, as I was talking about a little bit today, and I was talking a lot about what micro-focus is last week, so catch up with that. Yeah. Okay, let me see. Tim is writing, the video is a little glitchy, but the audio is fine, and I can see the share screen. Perfect. Okay, and the audio is the most important, I guess. Yeah, perfect. So let me scroll down here a little bit. One thing I should say up front is that the course Skravleklubben is best if you are at around B1 already or higher. Higher level I can accommodate easily. If you have a lower level than B1-ish, and this doesn't have to be precise, and it's about speaking, doesn't have to be in all skills, right? But because it's a speaking course. But if you have A2, for example, and you would love to join, you're unsure if it would work, lower down on the page, which the link to this page is somewhere in the description of this live stream, and I will also share it with you in the comments so that you can access it easily. Lower down the page, there is the opportunity to book a call with me. So if you're unsure about your level, you're unsure if it would work for you, if you're lower than B1-ish, give me a call. Book a call with me. We'll figure it out. We'll check your exact level, we'll check in a more kind of functional way if your level is there, right? It's not going to be exact, but I will figure out what I need to know and tell you if this is good for you, or if you need to wait, or if you need to do something else. So don't be afraid, book the call. And like I was saying, this is perfect for keeping your momentum, for learning the structures you can just pull out in real life conversations, rather than doing the textbook, focusing hard on broad things, and then you don't know what you want to say in that real life communication, right? So this is focusing on particular structures. And I'll show you the examples for April, because this is starting on the 1st of April, and I have April topics planned out already, so I'm gonna show them to you in a minute. And the other topics, I don't have them planned out because I react on the needs in the group. So that's what's beautiful. Some of the topics you will see for April, the last two, I planned them based on what my Czech cohort needed. And they basically need the same things as everybody else, because this is the universal Norwegian stuff, yeah? So let me just scroll down and show that to you immediately. Let me see here. Lesson topics in April, the first month of the club, will be clauses with nor. So this is something we use so much in speaking. We use it all the time, that like, når jeg kommer hjem, spiser jeg middag. Yeah, but this is a silly sentence. This is not something that you want to say. But we discuss things like, when I get a headache, I need to do these things, right? When my kids come from school, this is what happens. When we have a meeting at work, this is what happens. And there is this particular structure to the sentence. And when you get it in with that micro-focus technique that I use, you'll be able to just use it, because it will be sitting like in your blood. It might take a few iterations, obviously, because spaced repetition is always there. But this is so beautiful. It looks like, you know, normally we'll be doing this as leddsetninger with all the other leddsetninger and whatnot. This is one of the most common ones that you actually need in your conversation. So we micro-focus, we get it in, and then you own it, yeah, without getting overwhelmed. We had for siden, for en stund siden, for 5 år siden, we focus on the pronunciation issue, on the stress pattern, we get it in. And we also do the tricky past tenses of the verbs you actually need, but you avoid because you don't know them, like legger, my, la, my, this kind of stuff, you know? It's wonderful how everybody needs very similar verbs, but we keep avoiding them because the past tense is terrible. We'll be doing begge deler, when to use begge deler. This is something everybody asks me, like why it's not både and whatever. Yeah, so this is going to be the third one in April. And jeg vet ikke om, I don't know if. This is a beautiful one. Everybody gets this wrong. And it's so cool when you get it right. And it gives you so much confidence as well if you get it right. So I'm really looking forward to this. And the club, you can join it for 3 months at a time. I'm going to show you here. It's a running course. You join for 3 months at a time. You can prolong as many times as you want. And basically, you can just jump on. There is a button. You can book your spot so that nobody else grabs it, because I have very limited spots on this first cohort. And like I was saying, if your level is significantly under B1 or you're unsure, just give me a call before you join, so that we check that it's a good choice. It's a good investment. And the best thing is that the investment is only 1,000 kroner per month. So for the 3-month package that you can join is just 3,000, and it includes all the stuff. It includes the session every week, and you saw the topics for the sessions. It will be Tuesdays at 5. Yeah, so the time is set, Tuesdays at 5. We will have a break for påske. We will have that. There is a Q&A session every second week for participants. You can put in your questions at any time. And if you've been in a course with me before, you know what Q&A is, right? So we have a bit less frequent Q&As than in courses that are more intensive, but we still have it so that you can ask. We will have a workshop every month. And the first month in April, we'll have on self-study efficiency, how to study efficiently, also with micro-focusing, and what to do with the vocabulary notes that I give you from every lesson, and so on. So this is going to be a strategic workshop, but we'll have grammar workshops, vocabulary workshops, or strategic technique workshops like this every month, once a month. You will get access to the online platform Bazaar, so that you can just binge those exercises anytime you need and ask about anything. you will get a list of authentic materials graded for level. So this will be links and suggestions, podcasts, CV, all the stuff. In my courses, I give topic-based lists. In the club, I'll make a running list sorted for level. So this is like accessible from A2 and upwards. This is accessible from B1. This is like dialect, difficult speaker, difficult topic, B2 plus, right? So I'll sort it by level so that when you have a TV watching time allowance in your calendar, you just go to the list and pick if you don't have anything of your own right then. All right. And also, I'll train you how to transform theoretical knowledge into speaking. This is the most important, I think. This is the most important thing that is missing in Norwegian classes, because they give you the grammar, they give you the vocab, that's always there, but no one tells you what to do with it so that it transfers. And this is part of the common sessions, that when I teach you the structures, the explanation is super short. We go into practice and I'm coaching you on how to pronounce, where to put your stress, how to think of it so that it actually transfers. Yeah. So we don't have any video lessons or anything on learning strategies. I do that in more intensive courses. But as we go in the sessions, I help you put that stuff in using the same strategies. So I'll teach you how to transfer. That's the most valuable thing, I think, that you can learn to do, because then you have it, then you have the skill and you can do it on your own. In each lesson, I'm writing full lesson notes. So all the sentences that you are producing, that we are implementing, for example, the NOR structure, all the ideas that you come up with, all the stuff you're trying to say and maybe struggle, I'm writing everything down so that you don't have to. And then I share the document with you in our classroom, and you can go in and pick and choose. And I'll teach you how to pick and choose in the first workshop, obviously, so that you're working efficiently on your own. We will have our private class on Google Classroom. I'll sort out all our materials and also the recordings from our lessons and from the workshops and from the Q&As, because I know that sometimes you have to miss a lesson. Sometimes you can't be there for the Q&A, and the Q&A, it's streamed and most people watch it from the replay anyway, so that they can skip the questions that they weren't interested in and rewatch the ones they were interested in, right? So I have everything on recording only for course participants, and you have it in your classroom. Yeah, and the notes and the TV suggestions and all that. And we also have a private group on Facebook where you can ask the questions for Q&As. I can share some sources that are topical right now. I cheer you up in there and remind you of stuff and so on. So that's a support group for the accountability kick a little bit, and for reminders and for the Q&As and things like that. It's kind of nice and cozy to have it there. Yeah. All right. Here you can book your seat, and I recommend doing it early on because, as I was saying, I have very limited seats for the first cohort. And here you can book a call with me, like I was saying. So if you want to discuss your level before you join, or if you have some extra questions, you can write under the video, or you can just give me a call. Here is a little bit about me, so you can read that if you want. All right. So that's what I wanted to share with you about Skravlaklubben. I'm going to take it away now. And let me just reiterate at the end what we've been talking about today in terms of the low-key approach to learning Norwegian. The most important thing is that we need to make it low-key so that it's sustainable. If you want to have a high focus period where you do a lot, you have to say it's from this date until that date. It's these 3 weeks. Then you can do multiple hours of TV a day and a grammar session every other day and all that stuff. But you have to know the period this is for. If it's for your whole life or for the next 2 years, you have to create a low-key baseline. And you make it low-key by, number one, reducing the time you plan for the high focus things. and expanding the time that you're planning for the lower focus things like TV watching, podcast listening, combining these with other activities and so on. That's number one. Number two, you take off the performance pressure, take off the performance related overwhelm from your process, because this is what's draining a lot of your energy. This is what's preventing you from pursuing your goal, because you're over focusing on the goal and disregarding your everyday life. So you need to be focusing on the process over the results so that you can sustain results in the long run. Yeah. So that's the most important points, the most important solutions or solution areas that we were talking about today. And I was also saying, if you want to work on your Norwegian in a low-key fashion with me, hop on Skravleklubben, which is a new course opening from the 1st of April with very limited spots in the first wave. So grab yours. That's the last word. I'll see you next week for another episode of Tips for Confident Norwegian. Ha det bra. Vi snakkes.